Hello, YouTubers! This is National Master Luke Calhoun. I'm a national board certified teacher, and I am speedrunning the Philidor defense and the Old Indian defense at very fast time controls. I'm not an excellent bullet player, but I will do my best to rise up the ranks, teach, and hopefully entertain in the process. So, for white, one of the people on my YouTube channel recommended that I not waste the tempo, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that. I'm playing a 1745, and this is the equivalent of the English defense in my course. And I'm going to just, again, not waste the tempo. So I recommend F4 against it. I think that it's a good rebuttal. This is a new move. It's not in my course. I've never seen it before, but it looks kind of awkward because E5 can come at any moment, and it restricts the D5 pawn push. I have to give them creativity points, though, because it is super creative. I'm going to see if I can force them to play b6. I generally want them to play b6 in these structures because oftentimes if I play like c3, d4, which is one of my main plans against this knight e7, I don't want them to be able to attack this pawn. And if they put a queen here, then they can attack that pawn a lot easier. So, yes. Are they threatening anything? Okay, I'm just going to retreat. Taking is also an option, but it opens up the b4 square for an attack to here, so I'm not so eager to do that. Let's text that. Let's change gears. This queen is clearly not coming here, so we'll go here. This was also optional, but this is going to be a pretty terrific bishop if I just kind of put all my pawns on dark squares like this. So I'll do it if I need to, but let's only do it if we need to. Okay, there's a pin down this. Okay, I think they missed it. Yeah, okay. This position will be hard for them now. I can take this pawn. Okay, they're going to try to play this with tempo. I want to, like, this is hanging. I don't know why they didn't take that. I want to defend that now. Bishop here, and it allows them to come to e3. So let's play b3. I didn't want to play this unless I absolutely had to, but it looks like I absolutely have to. Bishop b7, the e6 pawn falls. So they will eventually get that in. And what I want to do is have a bishop come to f3 as soon as I possibly can, kind of counterbalance that bishop. They have a little compensation in that this move took me time, and the position is opening up. I like that this comes with tempo on their bishop here. Bishop takes knight would have been fine too. It gives up the bishop pair, which I wasn't wild about. Wow, this is like, they're very aggressive. This is a little tricky how aggressive they are. Queen here to take this pawn. Bishop b7. They take the pawn. They play bishop c5. They trade the queen. They should be okay. Knight c6 is also threatened. And also just taking here. The only problem there is bishop c5 at the end of it can win material. So there, knight c6. They can not lose the exchange by going there, but I'm happy to trade queens. Okay, they are not. They're going to lose the rook rather than trade the queens. And now I can stop them from putting a bishop on b7. My worst nightmare. Thwarted. Woo! The terror of like when you have pawns here, 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 and the idea that the bishop is going to come there like a fire-breathing dragon into your position. I mean, even when I'm up a piece, I can't calm my nerves thinking about that possibility. Yeah, I think I just take. And I would love to just trade everything. It's tempting to win a pawn, but the bishop pair is so good that I would just love to trade queens. Please trade queens with me, please. I just want this game to be over. Okay, they're not trading queens. Okay, I will trade your knight for my knight. I can't offer you anything else. I'm a little worried that they're going to sacrifice their rook and then just play bishop b7 and all my fears return. But objectively, that should be fine for me, even if subjectively it looks terrifying. So this is okay because I'm taking back the bishop, and the diagonal is well under control. That would come to my king. And take it back either way, but I like taking back the bishop so that my rook can guard my bishop if need be. And also if they like start doubling, I'm not afraid to back away my bishop with a hanging f2 bishop in some lines. And I just want to trade. Not queen c6, because then queen takes pawn, and then queen takes bishop, and then... Oh, actually, I have checkmate at the end of that, so maybe that would have been fine. This just seems a lot safer. And then, are they going to trade with me? Trade with me. Trade with me, black. So I'm up a whole rook, and I'm starting to feel a lot safer in the resulting position. I'm just going to sacrifice the exchange because it's easy. If they take back with the rook, I pin it to their queen. If they take back with the queen, I play rook here. And if they move the rook, well, actually, they can move the rook and defend. So maybe I'll trade queens and then play rook f1. Then they have to trade the rook because otherwise there's a back range checkmate. So it's just like we're trading everything for this exchange. I have 20 seconds, so commentary might get a little on the slim side. I apologize in advance. The rook is pinned to the bishop, and they are resigning. Okay, so at b17:45 to start. I'm moved up, moving on up. I'm trying to make these videos a little faster again, so trying to play a little quicker than normal, although I apologize if it interferes with my quality. So we're going to play the Ponziani as a way of getting into the Philidor. And the idea is if they play knight f6, we go into a Philidor. And this is our normal Philidor structure, and oftentimes we want to play c3. So that is not a wasted tempo. The Ponziani is like the fun cousin of the Philidor. Uncle Pons. And we get a very Philidor position where you got off b4, which is something you ideally want to do in the Philidor. And we can expand on the queen side to pose black some practical problems. The like old school way of playing that, or like another way to play the Ponziani is to play d4. That would be a little less Philidory, but very playable. And I think I can take. I take here. I just play here. Attack that. Attack that. Okay. I think this is okay. So they could have taken back the queen, then bishop here. They take here. I take here. And it's all okay. Now I need to guard this pawn, so I'll guard it this way. And I'm sorry, one of the disadvantages of playing speedruns is my phone can go off. When you're making a course, you can just stop it and pause and cut it out. But with a speedrun, you just keep going. So apologize if you hear dogs barking. My 7 and 5-year-old daughters playing or anything else. That's all a possibility. Okay, so how do I defend this? That's actually very annoying to defend. If I want to put queen here, then the bishop goes here, right? So let's just take. And then here, attack that, attack that. The idea, maybe they could have delayed taking this for a second until this was better under control. I mean, it didn't seem that it was rushed. It was doubled pawns. It was kind of an interesting idea they had. But if I'm getting this, then I feel very happy. Bishop h3, bishop f3 should defend that threat. Though I'd love to play knight f3 and hit the rook. I obviously couldn't do that on bishop h3 because then they would just take care with the rook. Getting a big attack and a pawn. F4 would be an interesting idea too. Yeah, especially now that they've... So I'll play here, threatening the rook and also threatening e5, forking material. Okay, but now e5. Well, I can just take it. That was almost a good way out. Okay, this is not threatened because I've guarded it. And that rook is almost trapped, right? Let's just see where it goes. Can't go here because of the knight. Can't go here because of the pawn, pawn, bishop, pawn, guarded. So I think I have it. They can like delay with knight e3, hitting my rook and this pawn and see if there's any tactics. Okay, I will stop their knight e3 idea. Not queen c2 and knight e3, and then they actually have something. So now this is guarded. I am going to pick up the exchange. Well, okay, they're offering me a bishop. Okay, they resigned. Okay, moving on up in the world. Playing a 1654. I'm 1637 now. Let's play a Philidor. Create that pawn chain that I admire. Love me a nice pawn chain. They're thinking about whether they want to, yeah, defending it is good. Defending it is good. This is what I call in my course the club player main line. This is what you're most likely to get when playing the Philidor. I feel like this line is really good for black. So that's one of the good reasons to play the Philidor is that like Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano have played it. So it kind of can stand up at top level chess. And at the same time, it's pretty brutal against players who don't know it very well. So we're going to guard this. I think the best for white is actually f4. That's probably leading to equality, and white can even press and test black to see if they know their theory after f4. It's very difficult for white to want to play King's Gambit, though, against the Philidor with f4 and the queen's off the board. This is the main line, but this is a mistake because I want to play c6 anyway, so I can lift my king and connect these two rooks. I also want to play b5 and pawn storm the king side. So this is kind of giving me exactly what I want. And now I'm going to try to take out this and take out that. Another idea is to try to take out that, but it's a little riskier sometimes because they can try to trap my bishop. So the third idea is to try to attack this. And now I think I can take this one, and they can't trap it because they'll take the knight, or I can take this one. I'll just take this one. I think this makes the most sense because it attacks the bishop and also attacks that pawn. And then now I'll take this one too. This is like Pokemon. Gotta take them all. So I'm just gonna keep taking the Pikachus wherever they might lie. And then Pikachu, I choose you if they play b3. So to consolidate this, I want to play a move like f6. Create like a nice pawn chain there. Okay, I don't want to lose that knight. Let's play here, attack their bishop. I can take that with check. So Ooh, and they're threatening to take that. That was a good move. That's a very good move. Okay. And I think I'm going to have to give them doubled pawns to stop that. Maybe I don't. Oh, wait. No, I don't have to give them doubled pawns because I can recapture with the knight. And I just still there. But c3. But then knight b3. Okay, this position was way more complicated than I ever hoped it would be. We will continue trying to trade because we're up material. And we're just going to try to play a very, very simple game from this point on. Actually, bishop e7 might have been the better move. Yeah, because now they have knight g5 at the end of this. It's not tragic. It's just annoying because after f6, they will be able to put their knight on g6, d6, and it's not very fun for me. Let's just attack it. I don't think it like wins or anything to have a knight here. It's just better for them than if the knight wasn't there. I don't want to lose this pawn. My rooks are now connected though, so I'm just a few moves away from everything being okay. Just like rook d8, knight b6, the world is okay. Okay, so knight c4 would be a good way for them to activate that knight. So therefore, I'm going to just play b5 preliminarily, stopping anything from going onto that square. I can retreat if they ask me to. And this knight is still underdeveloped. So let's get this knight out, and then let's just trade pieces. We're going to have a peace trade party. It's just as exhilarating as it sounds. I'll move this rook because I thought like maybe a5 later. Makes sense to like activate that way if they don't want to trade with me. Yeah, it's so annoying. Okay, let's guard it this way. And then we'll kick it that way. I can't play f5 because the pawn falls. And now we're threatening this one, technically. I would like this knight to leave. Okay, so knight e3 is forced. Don't really have another move. They could, I guess, sacrifice the exchange to take on f6, but one, I could always just take their knight back, and two, I don't think they have compensation to do that. And then, yeah, I'm just going to trade. Trade. Trade party. Okay, they're refusing wisely. So I'm going to push this. And now I have this nice open file. This would pry open this file, so I'm going to guard it with a knight. And put my own knight there, possibly. And it depends, they might beat me to it by putting there. But no, okay. So now I'm guarding this. The rook's not going to be able to activate. And so I have a very comfortable position. Next step is I have 3 pawns over here to their 2, so I would usually play king b1, a5, and eventually create a pass pawn and win. So I won on time, but that's I mean, they're going to probably lose that. Next, I'm playing a 1602. I'm 1645. We're already moving on up in the world. King's Gambit. I've lost so many rating points just wanting to play the King's Gambit. I can't help myself. It's like chocolate, you know? I'm really like, I'm a strategic player. I'm much better at positional chess than calculations. In fact, I get kind of spacey. And sometimes I'll just like put a knight in front of a pawn or something. And so I really shouldn't be playing like a tactical slugfest like the King's Gambit, but I just love it so much. Okay, playing a 1711. If you eliminate the first one, it's a 711. So, yeah, that's really lame. Practicing my dad humor here. As we go up the ranks, I think we'll see more queen trades, and then when I get to the top ranks, we'll see less queen trades, is usually what will happen. So the same thing as before, put the king on c8, and knight f3 would be a mistake. f4 is the best way to play it. Let's see if my opponent knows theory. It's hard to know theory for the Philidor defense, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. Oh, and I just realized that my camera is reddening my face. That should fix it a little, I think. Okay, maybe I'm just going to have a red face. Just look constantly humiliated. That's okay. It's the Scotch-Irish in me. Okay, same line. And this should lead to a big advantage for black. So I think I'm actually already up a pawn in this line because this is just so brutal. They can play here, but then when I take back, I'm still threatening that because I think I just take this right away. Knight c5, knight takes pawn can always be played, forking this bishop and the others. But I think here I just take this way, right? Because c4 is no longer available to trap my bishop. And so I'm just winning material. And they have pretty bad pawns. So again, this is like this queen trade game in game is called the Philidor Swamp by Sergei Kasparov in his book, and it is very tricky to play for white. It is like not as simple as it seems. Okay, so now I have 3 pawns to 2. So technically I should be playing like a5, b5 and getting an advantage there, but this is a big but. This pawn is hanging and I can't resist. And also I want to play very normal chess against my opponent. Well, knight takes pawn. Allow that. This is hanging. Okay. I think we can continue to have some fun. So if the rook moves here, and knight d3 wins the exchange. So I think I can win an exchange. So then knight d3. And the Philidor Swamp has claimed another swamp thing, I guess, is the another victim. Let's play f6. I like f6 because when I'm like trying to just shut down in the Philidor, this pawn chain is just very hard. Like they can't access any of the squares inside. And I can reroute here and then here. Well, not there, but you get the picture, here and then here. They can go to g6 or f5. Neither of them are like horrible moves, but neither of them are that scary either. Like so. I play, I guess g6 knight e7 is a little annoying. So how do I want to guard that pawn? Let's guard it this way. 2 diagonal of a rook is the safest place. 2 diagonal of a knight is the safest play you could be against a knight. They just have so many troubles going 2 diagonal. And then 1 horizontal or vertical. These are the safe squares. So the safe squares against the enemy knight would be these. And those are just useful to know in case you get into time pressure and need to deal with a knight. So I'm going to just try to trade and play this super quiet. My apologies to everyone who wants excitement. Knight takes pawn is also interesting. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Feels a little like unnecessarily dramatic to be opening up files for that rook and allowing this knight to go anywhere, but they don't have any. They can play check, but then I'll take here and I'll be defending my knight. And then otherwise, I'll just be able to run. They don't have anything useful to attack. So I'm up 4 pawns? No, 2 pawns in the exchange. That's what I'm up. I'm going to play here, allow them to double my pawns. I don't care. I just want to trade. Let's just trade. I'm up 4 points. I can have double pawns for a bishop trade. I'm also threatening check and kill the bishop, so they do have to be careful if they choose not to trade. Okay. Resigning is also fine with me. So that was really tricky. That Philidor position is just really insane. So no judgment on my opponent misplaying that at all. So against the Sicilian, we're going to pretend it's the English. Interesting. So if I castle, they're going to play like c4. The idea, or they're going to like sacrifice their good bishop here. But that's their good bishop, right? Right. Yeah, let's play here. If they play bishop here, I can play rook b1 now and pin it, and they'll lose it. So they can't take it. And now knight c4 will hit the queen. Okay. I'm going to castle. Your discovered check does not scare me. I'll just go to the side. Okay. Interesting. I think the problem that I have with Black's play is that they're losing all these center pawns and they're not developing. I mean, they moved this piece twice, they've moved this piece twice, and the queen move is really not a develop your minor pieces move. So they're kind of violating the rules of chess, and the chess lords are going to be upset. I don't know if they know that they're blaspheming against the chess lords, but it's always... Usually there's some kind of tactical problem later in the game. I mean, I might miss it. This is fast time controls, but this bishop, what I'm doing with this move is cutting it off from retreating back. I'm having trouble drawing arrows today. And I would love this bishop, especially since they played g6 and weakened these squares. So you can already see the effect of that with this knight. It has to go here, which is just not an ideal square for the piece. It really wants to go forward, but there's just no way with a pawn on e5 that it's going to be able to do that. And so now I will happily take off that bishop. And then they must keep on the knight. And I guess they want their knight there. Bishop here is tempting. They can't take this pawn because then I'll just play rook here and then the knight will fall when the queen moves. So I guess they have to play queen a4, which they saw to their credit. Now they can't castle though, or this pawn falls. So let's continue to expand in the center. Let's see what they do. If I was them, I'd play like knight f5. This is also a pretty good move. The knight needs to try to relocate itself. Play bishop here. I would love to play here and then here, unleash this bishop. Whether they've castled there or not, there's just a lot of play on that diagonal. That seems like a pretty risky move to me. Like, they're so underdeveloped, it's weird that they're trying to win pawns with their queen, because now they're setting up other possibilities for me to attack it. So the idea of this move is to stop the queen from coming this way, and then rook a1 traps the queen. And it looks like I'm going to win a queen. Yeah, the queen is too little development, too late. They have only one minor piece developed, and it's developed to h6. I've already castled and developed everything, so it's only a matter of time when you blaspheme against the chess lords that they come for their queen sacrifice, and you get into trouble. Okay, I'll try to put them out of their misery as quickly as possible. We'll go here. I'm threatening here, forking those two. So yeah, the remove is reasonable. And then I'll take. I'm actually kind of helping them develop. I don't know if this is totally wise. I'm just kind of playing a little fast because I'm up a queen, and you know, we've got things to do. We've got things to do. So I'm going to now try my best to checkmate and make you proud of me as best as I can. I'll just eye the king. I do have an extra queen in the fight that should pay dividends in the long run. This knight is really, it just can't move anywhere. Then yes, I will trade because I'm out material. And we'll check. Discovered. Check. And also threatening the pawn. Oh, I think I had to block the pawn because now I'm forking these two. I'm winning even more material. Then when they take back, I'm winning more material. Maybe I can play for checkmate. Okay, yeah, they resigned. Sometimes that's all you need is just a long pause. Just be like, do you want to think about this position? So that's that. Okay, playing e4 against the 1645. h5. What is this? Okay. We'll just stop that. I do want to open the position because this was not a development move. So they probably are playing like this really aggressive chess, but I am happy to get out my minor pieces, and this is going to be far worse if they haven't developed their pieces. So I almost want to like just play queen f3 and start threatening mate, but I'm going to control myself. Okay. I have a move with my knight, but I don't really have any beautiful places to go right now. I will take that bishop. That's a beautiful place to go. We'll take the bishop. Then I would love for my bishop to be its best self. Let's go here, actually. Well, I think I'm already collecting material. And then I'm going to just castle kingside because castling queenside would be crazy, and I'm up a pawn and have a good position with this weakness. I mean, they don't have... I don't know if that king feels a draft, but it's very vulnerable right there. In fact, I'm going to just eye it with a bishop. Just keep an eye on that square. And then maybe next is like 95. Okay. Or here. I'm okay trading. I'm up material. Okay, and let's make those pawns awkward. Then maybe they want to keep trading with me. I'm going to push this pawn mainly to just get my king out of the way with tempo. And if they had developed, then they would have had rook g8 here, but they're really, really underdeveloped. So I'm going to continue to expand my majority. I'm not pushing these pawns because they have 3 over there too. And you always want to push the pawns where you have more than your opponent. I'm going to play c4 to not let a bishop come here. Because I would love to play king f3, then h4, h5 at some point, you know, so on. And I don't want to be checked. I have f5, but I don't necessarily want to put all my pawns on light squares. It'll weaken my bishop. And also, my pass pawn is this one, so I don't want to push this one first. I want to push this one, and that way I can push that one. Okay, let's just make sure my pieces are developed. Because I'm winning, I don't, again, want to risk much. And I'll just block the check with my bishop. We'll threaten this pawn and threaten the bishop. Okay, and trading is reasonable. Just going to activate my rooks, make sure they don't have any counterplay before I begin pushing Harry the H-pawn, as Simon William calls him, down the board. You know, I missed mate. What? Okay, this game is ruined. I'm feeling confident, which is true, but like, you gotta look for mate. You gotta look for mate. I don't know why I didn't look for mate. Oh, well. You know, once you say simple, the goal was just to tie this rook up so that it couldn't move, which is reasonable unless there's a checkmate on the board. Move it a little bit too fast. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna, these are the only squares in those highlighted in red for the black rook, so these rooks are gonna just not allow it to come in. And next I can double up on the 7th or some shenanigan. There's really no rush though. I'm up a pawn and black is really passive. So we will now begin the doubling up on the 7th. Next is here. This is under attack. So I predict b5. And then here. Then I can trade with pawn here and then taking here, but maybe it gives them too much activity. I mean, look how passive my opponent is. I mean, eventually he's going to be able to take here and move this rook in. So he will. If I just sit forever, then something will happen. So I can't just sit forever. But it's like I don't want to trade. H6, by the way, is king takes pawn, rook takes pawn. He has to trade the rooks, or else rook here, king over, and then rook there. I'm using him maybe presumptively. His name is Christian, so that's a guess. My opponent is playing pretty well so far. Like, they're really making me squeeze out these pawning games. The idea is right now I'm threatening this move. This pawn is pinned, so that would just win a pawn. There is an idea of just kind of removing the king from the defenses over here, but g3 is simplest. And same thing over here. So now they wisely come back. I'm going to, I need my king a little more in the game. Let's continue to go forth. I guess g3 was best, because if I play g3 and they'd taken, that's checkmate. Check, check, mate. So they wouldn't have been able to take. And if they can't take, they would have been able to play rook here with, it's a little unclear, but then I could have marched up my king. But that's still, that's a tactical motif later. If my king is here, I can also go for that idea. And then they won't have rook f6. I guess I need to stop some of these checks. My idea here was g6. Which I still think works. Obviously, it's not checkmate because I can't respond to rook there, but the idea is I just take back with the king. And then I'm threatening checkmate, and I don't see how they can get out of it. See, so like, it's going to go here. Oh, well, that's... Forgot the pawn. no longer existed there. Okay, how do I finish the game? Here? And then here? Yeah, I think this works. So then here, mate in 3. Here, and then there. Yep. Good game by my opponent, nonetheless. Now I'm playing a 1692, 1669. We'll play a Philidor. Will you let me... Oh, no, they're not going to let me. I bet you can trade queens. It seems to be the thing. Oh, no trading queens. This does seem suspect, though. I think I can just play knight g4 against it. Because I would love that bishop. And now they're not defending this, so they're going to have to get out the queen out early, and I can attack it with tempo. And okay, point well taken, but at least take the bishop pair. Bishop f6. It's like actually a little annoying to like defend that pawn. Let's just trade queens so that I can develop my minor pieces and then use the 2 bishops to kind of milk a pleasant in-game. Or they can do that. But now I think we're just trading queens and I'm up a pawn, so yeah, I don't think that was a successful way to create my shield. My pawn shield. I do it every time I need to try to convert. Let's take this knight out before rook d1 and knight d5 stuff. Ooh, it runs. Come here. Okay, it's pinned. Okay, well, now they're losing the exchange. Okay, and I'm going to play g6, so this knight can't go to any of its favorite squares. I usually don't want to allow them to, I'm going to play it here. If I put it bishop d6, obviously the knight's coming here. It has nowhere else to go, so. And I think if they take here, I can play b6 and the bishop's trapped, so. We'll just continue to develop in our normal way. I need to get my other rook in the game. Okay, no further. You can go that far. No further. What I like about this is that their pawns are locked on the same color as their bishop, which makes the bishop's mobility greatly reduced. And so I didn't really care to block it in a way that would block my bishop in, but blocking their bishop in. In fact, you can already see the effect. The bishop is trapped because it can't go here because they put all their pawns on those squares. So now I'm at 1678. I hope that my rating seems very shiny. I'm playing a 1724. And we're going to play the Philidor defense. A lot of e4 players with this rating range. I'm surprised that there's not more d4 here. Philidor reverse Philidor. Philidor. Oh, wait, they're playing the it's like fianchetto system. I'm disappointed in them. So often what I want to do is that if they don't play d4, I play d5. But b5, a5 is a4 is like very tempting. And maybe I'll go for it. Let's just start by putting all of our pieces on normal squares. Our rook on e8. We'll guard e5 sufficiently. Tuck our bishop into bed so that way it's very defended. And we'll maybe play d5 one day. Or like this. Okay, they had to take back the knight or else this pawn would have fallen. But I still think I have really good play against that pawn. I just put everything on it. The other idea of this move is to play knight here, and this bishop is actually trapped. And, I mean, it's not going to die to like a pawn or anything, but I would love to trade it for my knight. If they ever put a knight on f5, I will take and then put a pawn on d5, creating a pawn chain against their fianchetto bishop. And so this is the idea. And maybe you'll see both in action. Maybe I'll be able to take this and take that, and then play d5. The full array of moves against white. Okay, at least not doubling their pawns. That move makes sense to me. I'm going to play bishop g4 just because f3 will weaken their bishop, right? It'll be like the gaze will be a little lower. I'll put it on d7 otherwise. And I wouldn't have retreated it back this way because I have to keep an eye on this f5 square so that the knight doesn't lurk into it. And I feel like queen b6 is a pretty good move. Just these dark squares without their dark squared bishop are just a little weaker than normal. Okay, and that's fine, but it's going to weaken this square. So now a lot of things are weak on this diagonal. So it looks like I should fianchetto and put a bishop on that diagonal to kind of expose that. My d6 pawn will be weak in the short term, but I can live with that. Another benefit of g6 is I don't have to worry about knight f5 anymore. I would love to. Okay, I'll leave. This is a kind of typical. The one problem from White's perspective is the knight's not very good there. So, and I'm in no rush to put this bishop here because it will weaken the d6 pawn. So I'm just going to kind of continue to develop my pieces. This is really their only source of attack here. And next I can tuck my bishop in. Well, okay, attacking the knight. Maybe their idea is, this is really tempting to like eye the queen, but it feels a little too much like hope chess. So let's put our bishop on a meaningful diagonal. This is also nice because this rook can come up here. It's not obstructed by the bishop here. And there might be a tactical situation where I would want that. And oftentimes as black, what you want to do is try to get off d5. It's really tricky with this bishop here. So that is part of the trickiness of the position. Okay, so how do I improve my position? Queenside pawn storm? Do I just play d5? Maybe I could just play d5. d5 will give him the c5 square, which is not as fun as... Let's play a6 and then b5 maybe. Okay. b5. Make them fianchetto their knight. And then maybe some attack against that. How do I... This is hanging if I can just move my knight, but I don't really know where... Don't place for the knight at this time. Let's go to... E6. The problem with E6 is F4, F5 will hit it. And it will block the rook from coming here. So instead, we're putting it on D7. The idea of this is to help with the D5 push and also to clear up a square for my knight, which will go here and then here. Because the knight's not really doing much on F6. They could play F4, but their queen's going to get like close to trapped in that position because it can't. They're blocking its exit. So I think they have to allow me to camp out. I have slightly less space than my opponent, so I want to trade. But already the two bishops they're doing their thing. And this is one of the reasons why that knight move was played. What's the best way? This is now a little bit of a weakness, right? Knight b6, but then c5. And I think they're okay. Knight b6, c5, rook e... No, not rook e5. This is knight. Yeah, okay, let's just go this way. Okay, attack the pawn. I think they have to trade. Now I can end my weaknesses. I can also take back the rook, but ending my weaknesses, it's just too exciting. Now this will be my next target. So let's put the bishop on it. I'm not eager to trade rooks because I don't want to give them file. But I will try to double and put more pressure here. I would love to have a pass pawn if they take. And actually, their last move might have been a mistake. It blocked off the queen. I should have been more aware of h6 as an idea. In fact, this bears pausing for a second to see. F6. At the very least, they can sacrifice their knight and then retreat still. F6. I don't think there's, maybe h6. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to trade their queen, but I would love for their queen to be here. Because then when they move their knight, they don't have any exits. G5 will not trap it because bishop F7, then the queen's going to be able to come on this diagonal, so I'm going to just continue. They're threatening this, and I value that. I'm going to push to gain a tempo on their knight and threaten the pawn. C5 would have also been very good. Take this pawn. Okay. I take another pawn. It seems so greedy to take another pawn. Let's just play queen d6. Put the queen in behind the passed pawn to help assist it in pushing up the board and attack the knight at the same time. And just control this kind of useful square one more time because this is where the checks are going to come. So I really want this bishop to stay here. Bishop takes pawn would have been fine. A little greedy, but fine. And I think I don't want to allow checks on c8, so let's just take here. And d3. I have 20 seconds, so I got to talk less. But my opponent is out of time, so they have even less time. So that settles that. A good game by my opponent. Very back and forth. Got like a little wild there at the end. But overall, Philidor prevails again. Back the pawn. They defend. We're going to get the queen trade line. I could illustrate this all day. You guys are getting a lot of model games in this line, which is good because this is a super popular line. We're going to get this a lot. Okay. This is usually, these double pawns are usually good for black. This is kind of an interesting follow-up to it, though. I haven't really seen that before. Doesn't it? I think it just loses pawn. This is pinned. I mean, granted, it's doubled pawns on an open file, so they have plenty of compensation here, but a pawn is a pawn, you know? It's not nothing. So I'll just keep that there. My knight is just going to hold on to that. I do not want to trade my bishop for that knight. So, well, actually, it's okay if it goes here and I take it, because then that will close down the file that's harassing my king. But I will insist that they play check here if they want to take my bishop. Okay. And let's play king c7 to connect the two rooks. And next up is b5, a5, and a pawn storm on the enemy king. With hopefully good results. So we'll play b5. Okay, a5. a3 is probably a mistake. Usually when you're being attacked, you just don't want to touch anything. That's generally what you should do. Because now b4 is going to be able to open a file because of this fork. And the knight is trapped because that bishop is guarding that square. And all the other squares are guarded. So they've lost a piece. Yeah, that's probably the best way to lose it. I could have played here, but there's some tactics with the rook. So guard here, make sure they can't play bishop b5 or any fun things. I'll play rook a8 and hopefully checkmate them. Let's go to a dark square because they don't have a dark square bishop. The light squares are danger squares. Okay, threatening checkmate. Concrete threat. b3 won't stop it because I'll play check, and then rook a7 is checkmate. Yeah, exactly. I will illustrate that here. Checkmate. Yeah, that queenside pawn roll is really stressful. Now 1695. I think this is going to be my last game, folks. I hope you've had a good time. And that is if I win. These 1600s are really making me sweat. And these time controls, the faster time controls are really hard with the commentary. So, who knows? I'm playing an 1891. So, and they aborted the game. They're running. Instead of 1615, should be a little less intense. We're playing against Calhoun, and I'm going to pretend it's an Old Indian. And let's just do our normal setup. Exchanging in the center is rarely a problem for white because this bishop is free. Look at it being its best self. So now I'm going to play c3 to make sure nothing lives there. And then we're going to... It's so tempting to just run at them, but oftentimes if here, and then they attack it back, and you have to sacrifice it, and it gets a lot more crazy than I'd want it to be. This is a mistake, though, because I can just take here. And then check will attack that and win a piece. So therefore, I'm not winning a piece because I'm sacrificing a piece, but I want a pawn. Yep. And then so now I'll retreat back. Their king is very precarious here. So I don't want to trade queens because their king is so precarious. e5 is now threatened. And maybe they should play e5 themselves. The one advantage they have is it's really hard for me to get out these pieces because to move this knight, I'm going to have to trade it, and I don't really want to trade material here. Okay, so their idea is that if I play here, they're going to block my checkmate threats. Okay, I'm still going to play it because it just gains so much space. So I calculated knight there, and then pawn here. I'm threatening checkmate again. Now it's not checkmate, but I do win bishop. Yeah, and then the resigning. Okay, so this has been a speed run from 1600 to 1700. I'm officially at 1701. I will see you next week for the next rating climb. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something, and I wish you all good luck in your Old Indian and Philidor games. See you next time.